What's happening, people? Back with another reaction, back with some more punk rock. And indeed, I'm listening to a band for the first time here in these videos, but it's a band I've been listening to for a long time, a band called 10-Foot Pole. As you can see, where is it? Okay, so this is the album we're going to listen to. It's Rev, which is the last album that they released with their original singer, who was also a Major League Baseball pitcher, Scott Radinsky. Eventually, the other guys in the band, they started as a group called Scared Straight. And then shortly after that, they decided to change their name because they thought people would just assume they were part of the straight edge movement, and they didn't necessarily want to be associated with that because I don't think everyone in the band was sort of on that page. So they changed their name to 10-Foot Pole. That's where I first heard of them. And then they put out the same album that was the last Scared Straight album they put out as a 10-Foot Pole album, where I think they literally just changed the wording on the front. And then the next album, which is from 1994, is Rev, and that's the one we're going to listen to. There's a lot of great songs on this. I wanted to listen to one called My Wall, which is about graffiti and sometimes kids, especially people who are marginalized in society and sort of come from low-income areas and don't have economic or technological means to make their opinions or feelings heard. Sometimes spray painting on walls is the way that they do that. But then I decided, there's some cool songs on this that I think push sort of the boundaries of punk rock and are different than what a lot of other bands were doing in '94. And one of those songs is called Old Man. So that's the one we're going to listen to. Again, I don't have the disc here anymore. I had ripped it onto my computer a long time ago, so I can only show you the back cover. And as I said, that's the front of the album right there. But yeah, so then after this album came out, the other people in the band wanted to be more of a full-time band because the lead singer was a baseball pitcher. There was a big part of the year where he basically just couldn't tour and whatever. So eventually they asked him to leave the band, and he went and joined a band, I think, called Pulley. And so he, I think, has been in Pulley ever since. 10-Foot Pole continued, where I think one of the guitarists, or maybe it was the bassist, then took over singing. I very much like the first album that they did after that change, which is called Unleashed, which is the one here with the dog on the bumper. That one is very cool. The next one is called Insider. I liked it, but it wasn't as good as Unleashed to me, and it felt very far away from where Rev was. And so I remember just being like, hey, it's cool, but I may not pay as close attention from this point out. So that's kind of what happened. I don't mean it as an insult, but it's just the reality. So yeah, but Rev is probably my favorite album by the entire run, whether you're talking about Scared Straight or, the two different singers in the band and so on. And again, I think the song Old Man is interesting because it's not your typical 94 melodic hard, because again, I would say these guys are kind of in the melodic hardcore mode, maybe just, kind of classic hardcore punk, but in 90s style, not early 80s style. But yeah, so this song, it almost has a folk punk rock feel. It's almost kind of like an alternative folk rock sort of tune. But it's talking about how this guy, let's just say it's an old guy in your neighborhood that sits out on his porch, and he's telling the lead singer or the narrator about the way things used to be, and you didn't have to lock your doors, and everyone was kind to each other, and they said hi when they passed each other in the streets, even if they didn't know you, and so on. And he's describing this sort of idyllic, utopian sort of society, and the narrator is saying, you know what? I'm curious about that. It's so far away from any reality that I know, but I'm interested by it. And, I don't know if it was really true, but, I'm going to make the time. Why don't you tell me more about this, the way things were in the place where you grew up and so on. And by the end of the song, he's basically saying, again, I'm not sure, maybe it's exactly the way that you've described it, but I hope you can find that place. I hope, somehow you can get back to that place. And, it'd be interesting to see that place myself. So again, I think it's sort of speaking to kind of idyllic understandings of the way things used to be, and sort of this nostalgia goggles way people look at the past. And believe me, as a historian, I'm always dealing with that, where people are things used to be so good or whatever, and it, every historian in the room is yeah, I don't know. But yeah, so I do enjoy the song musically and lyrically, and in part because it's so different from the rest of the album. And again, we'll come back for other ones, because I'm just thinking of the song Fade Away. I fucking love that song. And the first one too, Never Look Back, also excellent. So this is a great album, but let's get started with it by listening to Old Man, 10-Foot Pole on their album Rev, 1994, and I believe, let's just make sure, yes it is, Epitaph Records. Shout out to Brett Gurewitz. Simple but nice. To build a community, only now it's too late. Things will never go back to the way they were before. Seems so far from real. Few people have. I guess you could call it a ballad. Maybe it's 10 Foot Pole's ballad. Definitely a song you can make a music video to, and I don't say that about a lot of punk rock songs. I really do like it though. It stands out on this album. It's the only song that's sort of like that. Most of the other songs have a like faster kind of melodic punk feel. I do think it's interesting even in the context of the album that it's on. And as I said, you know, after this album, the 10 Foot Pole had a different sound, not just in the vocalist, but, you know, over time, you know, the songs themselves started to sound a little different. So it's sort of this interesting little time capsule in the history of that band. Nevertheless, let me know if you enjoy. Let me know if you're familiar with the band, either, you know, before this or the later version of the band, or if you're a fan of Pulley or, you know, other incarnations, because I'm trying to remember. I think there's another band that Radinsky has been singer for. I'm not sure. I guess I could look it up while we're here. Let me just check really quickly. 10 Foot Pole. So yes. Oh, right. Okay. So they got yeah. So then we go Radinsky. No, I guess it's just Pulley. Yeah. So Scared Straight and then Pulley. Is Pulley still making albums? That's the question. Yes, in fact, they just put out an album this year. First album in 6 years, but came out this year called The Golden Life. And are they still? No, they're not on Epitaph. What album? What label is this? Sabam? There's like a new, it's like the only release on this label, so I'm not quite sure, although it says Sabam 96, so I'm not sure what's going on. But Pulley is still making music, is the bottom line, so shout out to Scott Radinsky. Shout out to 10 Foot Pole. both, now and certainly at this era, which is when I was listening to them the most. Let me know if there's another song from them you'd like to hear. As I said, I have 3 of their albums. I have Rev, which is my favorite. As I said, I think Unleashed is very good, maybe not quite on the same level, but right there. Insider, I think, is good, but I'd give it more of like a B or a B plus sort of rating, whereas the other 2 I would put in the A plus or A category. So yeah, let me know if there's another 10-foot pole song you'd like me to hear. Let me know if there's any more punk rock reactions you'd like. Other than that, have a good day, have a good night. I'll see you next time.